But I mean, it's because I don't belong to that club, right? Like when, I know all the POCs of this community, and none of them are, and I don't mean this in like a posturing way. Like none of them are like actively trying to like poke the bear. None of that. Everyone's just playing their part, doing their thing, participating, and that's fine. I'm not here trying to poke the bear. I'm just expressing myself, and the bear felt poked.
North side, our shit split up in like 4 sections, you know what I mean? Northwest, east, south. Niggas is on the north side. North side, you got the Mexicans on the south side, you know what I'm saying? That's the ghetto for them. Then you go west, and that's the suburbs and all white folks. And then east is like going into a whole nother state, but that's like some trailer park shit, you know what I mean? That really don't count. But
This is White Centipede Noise Podcast, where we give language to noise. I'm Oscar Brummel, and today my guest is Miguel Rocha of CBN, a death industrial project from Omaha, Nebraska, whose work explores race relations in America from the perspective of a person of color. Rocha has also long been involved in organizing Omaha DIY, blending a variety of underground genres and subcultures together. You can hear a track from his forthcoming LP on Phage Tapes, Colored Savior, as well as another unreleased CBN track on Patreon when you sign up to support White Centipede Noise Podcast. This is part 1 of the episode. To watch or listen to the full episode, go to patreon.com/White Centipede Noise. By supporting White Centipede Noise Podcast on Patreon, not only do you get access to full podcast episodes, you also get access to bonus WCN TV content, the Maniac Circle Discord community, digital and physical giveaways, and much more. Thank you to all Patreon supporters who make White Centipede Noise Podcast possible. This episode is sponsored by Rural Isolation Project. Visit ruralisolationproject.com or ruralisolationproject.bandcamp.com to order, or look for them at a distro near you. Rocha, welcome to White Centipede Noise Podcast.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, man. How are you doing?
Good. Good. Yeah. Life is good. Life is good.
Welcome to the podcast. We're going to talk about your music, your noise, your work in DIY, all that stuff. You're from Nebraska.
Yes.
Kind of a Midwestern neighbor to my kind of upbringings in Minneapolis and Minnesota.
Oh yeah.
So you're in Omaha, right?
Yeah. Yep.
What's the Omaha scene like, and what's your role in the Omaha scene
today or prior, like past?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's kind of the topic is like,
okay. So I'll
like
start
right
with today,
now,
right?
Right now versus like, a few years ago.
So right now, I don't want to say this. Right now it's very paint by numbers. Right. So like rock band with rock band, indie band with indie band, indie headliner with, so it's like it used to be, and this is for, I don't know, since the late 90s, you would see a hardcore band with a punk band with an indie band and so on and so forth. It was very mixed and very diverse. Right now, it's just very much hardcore with hardcore, and that's kind of just where everyone's at right now. The bands are cool. Bib's great. Glow's awesome. There's still some really cool acts. Jeff and Leather, Black Plague, obviously, still busy. So I mean, there's still great things going on. As far as like DIY though, it's just not inclusive, right? And I think that's because who's curating it has a limited scope on everything. I think that's the nicest way I can put it. So
are you involved? I mean, because what I understood,
no.
Okay, what I understood is you were running some spaces and doing.
Yeah, I did that for about 15 years. I started booking shows when I was 16, and house shows and shit like that.
Yeah.
I think the first band I ever booked was Furious Styles. I think from Seattle. They were like a beatdown band or some shit like that. Some friends of mine that were like in an FSU crew were like, "Yo, book the homies are sick," and I was just like, "Cool." Awesome dudes. I actually ran into him at Austin Terror Fest randomly. He was like, "Rocha?" And I was just like, "You?" Couldn't remember his name, but it was just like, I recognized instantly. I was just like, "Yo, that's him." So that was cool. I was getting to chop it up with him. That was really nice. But so I did, started like when I was around that age, just booking, I had booked a couple of shows in my apartment basement, without the landlord knowing, shit like that. And then eventually we all had like a punk spot that was called The Manor. And that was kind of like the birth of like when I started doing noise, when we all had like interesting projects like power violence, punk, like we all had just different kind of projects going on at that time. And it was just really cool because we had like, we had our rat hole, right? We had our space to do all that stuff in. So that was around 2008, somewhere around there. So, and then, just continued to book shows until I eventually got into like, actual facilities to do this in. So that would have been Milk Run, Neo, Pop 20, and Midtown Art Supply. Those were all running around the same 12-year period that I was doing shows at all those venues. 3 of them I was paying all of the rent at, and was the sole curator and like head person in charge.
Damn.
So.
And why'd you quit? Or why don't you do that anymore?
I quit because
I don't want to say quit. I don't know if that's why.
Nah, I mean, I think it's the right word because I would love to do something again like that, but under the right guys, right? Because eventually it becomes a party. Eventually it becomes not about the music. Eventually it's just there for a social quota being met, and that's not why I waste my life doing this shit. Like I love hanging out with people. I love my friends. I love like-minded individuals. I love people who don't know about this, that are going to find out about this, that are into extreme shit. I love that. But once it becomes not about that and it's just about looking cool and being cool and all that other fucking corny shit, I don't want. Nah, get the fuck away from me, man. And that's like that last people I was working with and like, hey, whenever it comes time for people to put money in, that's when everything gets scarce. And that's what I don't want to deal with anymore. I don't want to be the only person paying the rent. I don't want to be the only person buying the PAs. I don't, mic cords, so on and so forth. I don't want to be the only person doing that shit. I don't want to be the only person fucking cleaning toilets. It's just like when it becomes just you and you're working 40 to 80 hours a week, depending on what your fucking schedule is, like, and you ain't getting paid. What do you, how are you supposed to do that,
Yeah. Sure.
Maintain relationships, maintain, all that other shit. You can't.
Yeah.
Something loses something somewhere.
Yeah. I feel like that's maybe not unfortunate, but that is the inevitable, like, scope thing that happens eventually at some point. Someone's like, all right, I put enough in and kind of got to bow out.
Well, it's just, it loses its genuineness, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So, it sounds like you're describing what is probably going on in a lot of American cities these days is like DIY stuff is kind of, what is the future and current state of DIY in the United States from your perspective? The Midwest, for example.
The Midwest, I'll just say, because I've toured so much, so I still have friends everywhere. I still see what's going on. Like I get to see everybody's stories and reels,
Yeah.
So, but the thing is, DIY as a whole, I think will always be okay. It'll always be what it is. It just depends on who's curating. And I think when you have the youth in their current state curating what's going on, I think it's a good thing because, you have all that huge, you look at Minneapolis, for instance, right? You have this new influx of all these kids going out to Burning, and all these, the Tourniquet Noise series, right? Like there's younger faces that I've never seen, around. Mm-hmm. And so I think it always takes care of itself. Right? Because it's a normal evolution to be curious and to have the desire to make something happen. And I think that's literally at the core of itself, that will always happen because we're curious creatures. We love to journey. We love to fuck around and find out. So it's like, I think that'll always take care of itself. I just think it's going to be a little harder because I think who's curating may be in a very isolated place, and you can't do that when you're mixing with everybody, when you're trying to make sure everybody's having a fair shake, right? Because if you pay attention to your community, there's projects in every borough, every whatever the fuck center of your town, right? Every set of your town has artists and young people that are like contributing and doing things in their bedrooms that just need someone to go, oh, hey man, you want to play live? Like, do you want to do this somewhere where everyone else can see it? That's all they need. And so I think that takes care of itself in and of itself. But I think with the power of social media and so on and so forth, could be a convoluted, could be a little fucking whatever. But I think it's always been that way. You know what I mean? Just in different levels.
Yeah. Do you see external factors, socioeconomic factors, whatever, playing a role?
From my personal plate, no.
From most standard examples like rent prices and things like that, or
So I've been poor my whole life. I've moved, but by the time I was 16, I think I moved over like 25 times. So it's like I did all this with no money. I just had my friends and just fucking figured it out. Hustled, whatever the fuck I got to do to make rent and make fucking whatever happen. I just did it. I think people. What was it? Bath Consolidated. They're from Kansas City. Trans homie, they're fucking sick. They one time they were like, Rocha, how do you do all this shit? How do you tour? How do you do all this shit? And I was like, which part? And I was like, because like my job, I hustle fucking whatever. And so they were just like, yeah, but like, how do you do this like every so often? And I was just like, well, change cups. Those are awesome. I don't smoke cigarettes. I don't fucking drink beer. I don't you have to set your intentions to make sure what you want to happens. And that's, the gist of it. Right. So it's just like, if you want something to happen, make it happen. Right. So whatever that means is fucking do it. But like, it's so much more rewarding when you do it on the back of yourself and the back of those that actually give a shit about what's going on, as for yourself, same shit,
right.
It's so much more rewarding.
So you're kind of a bootstrap, libertarian.
I don't know, man.
Put down the avocado toast kind of guy. I see.
Yeah, it's just more or less like you can do it if you really want it to happen.
Yeah.
Right, and you can't fuck around. Like that's really what it is. Because like when you're homeless and 16, and then you see all this shit you get to do until you're fucking 36 that you never thought was going to happen, and you fucking were going to die back then. Like I have limited space for excuses when it comes to like the desires of your heart. Right. I understand the world and the fucking inflictions that it puts on everybody, but like you have to fucking chase your heart, because this is, as far as we know, this is it. So make the fucking television show what the fuck you want. Beat on your chest, fucking figure it the fuck out, because you will. If this is what's meant for you, if this is what you want to do with your life, it'll happen.
Scream and Writhe and Disaster Sources present the third edition of Initial Shock, taking place July 5th and 6th, 2025 in Montreal, Canada, featuring Mass Marriage, Death Kneel, Matriarch, Apologist, K.M. Tupfer, Anne F. Jacques, Shadow Pattern, Taskmaster, Nauseous Ejector, Lindsay Algieri, Gurzical, Widdershins, Karaba, Mother Mary, Eunuch God, and many more. Initial Shock is sponsored by White Centipede Noise, Factor, Canada Council for the Arts, Untitled Zine, Rocker Magazine, CJLO, CKUT, Pizza Bouquet, and Pensione Popolo. Tickets available at initialshock.screamandride.com and at the door. Tell me about, if you would, your background a little bit. And, you mentioned rough times before you were 16 years old, and then finding DIY, how you found it, what it meant for you. If you would, just briefly.
Yeah, of course. No, it's fine. My dad was a lifetime alcoholic, drug user. He loved to shoot cocaine. My mom was a full-time waitress and also loved to fucking party. And that was the life that I was born into. So it's just there's not much stability, right? People are focusing on themselves over everything else. So that's where my love of like video games and like repetitive sound signatures and all that other shit like come from, is because like I was saving myself and putting myself in like states of like I can preoccupy my time with like things that are of a different realm, and I don't have to worry about all this other bullshit. My father was extremely abusive. He was a Vietnam vet. Nasty man, beautiful dude, cool dude. Like he could be your best friend, but he wasn't meant to be like a father. My mother give you the shirt off her back and is just a servant, right? And that's kind of been her fault, is because she never set herself up to like get old. She just set herself to live in the moment. And so dealing with all that shit, and just coming from a stern like immigrant Mexican family that like they walked their asses here. They fucking started a tortilla factory. So it's like, you don't have like room for feelings. You don't have room for like emotional talk, right? It was always just like, oh, mijo, chill out, just shit like that. So it all the way up until I dropped out, it was a very like, I'm living in one part of my life because I'm just associating with music and video games, and the other part was just chaos. It was just always just, are we moving? You gonna hit me? Just shit like that. And so when you finally get the choice to where it's like, oh, you're fucking up bad, and now it's up to me. So I was about 16, and I had a conversation like with my mom, and I was like, hey, I'm gonna go live on my own. I can't do my dad died when I was like 11. So she was a single parent all after that, and she kind of was a single parent anyways. My dad was fucking off constantly, so it's just like 16. I was like, I don't want to fucking be in school no more. I want to go hang out with my fucking friends. I want to fucking smoke weed. I don't want to give a fuck about none of this shit that's like going on in your life. I want to make my own. So that was like kind of the position I put her in, and like talked to her like sort of maturely about. And she was like, she understood she was in no position to help. So she was like, do whatever the fuck you want to do. So that's when I started living on my own. I started living at my cousin's house. I had some friends over in North Omaha. So some days I'd have like a 10-mile trek on foot to like go to like certain spots to crash at and shit. But like that was my life from 16 to 19. And then by the time I was 19, I had a good homie that I eventually started living with and just found some sort of foundation, Mm-hmm. And then I think around that time is when I changed my group of friends from that part of my life to like all the kids I knew in DIY growing up. Because I started going to shows when I was around 9-10. There was a venue called the Ranch Bowl. And so like my mom and my other mom would drop me off there, and like, you ain't got to worry about your kids no more. You can go do what the fuck you want to do. So like we were just there, and it was just a venue. Shows were either $2 or $5, right? And you could fucking see Buddy Rich for fucking like, not Buddy Rich, but who the fuck was that guy? Guitar player, black dude. Fuck, I can't remember his name. But anyway, you get what I'm saying, right? The severity of like, you can watch fucking some weird ass fucking the Union Underground or some new metal band for like $2, and then you can go see some like prolific fucking artist that's been around for 30 years for $5. It was just a sick venue that like had a bowling alley, had an arcade, and it was just a spot to be. So that was my introduction to like those people at that time. But I never, those kids were from like the suburbs and like nicer communities and like just chiller areas that like I thought you were like the enemy at that point in time, right? I was like, oh, you got a nice life. Like, fuck you. You don't know what it's about, shit like that. And so it's just like silly kid shit. But then eventually when I was like 19, someone crossed the bridge for me to like actually be friends with all those people. Cause like we all knew each other from going to shows and, oh, that's Rocha, oh, that's, so on, so blah, whatever. But probably only up until I was 19, I actually became friends with those people. And that's like when my life changed over into no more, no street shit and just kind of like just doing DIY shit.
Mm-hmm. Right on.
So yeah, that was kind of like the introduction to like DIY. And then that's when I was just like, okay, yeah, I fucking touring sick, fucking booking shows is sick. Like I love playing music with my friends. I love watching my friends play music. And this is what the fuck else do I want to do with my life? Like I compete in video game tournaments, and then I fucking want to go on tour and like fucking do this shit with my friends. Like that's all I give a fuck about. And that's still today. That's all I really give a fuck about.
Yeah. So it had that kind of really positive impact in your life.
Yeah, 100%. It introduced something at a very pivotal point, because it was either, I don't know, at that point in time, I was 18 years old. 2 of my friends got busted, and they're just getting out in 2 years. So it's just like, that's where my life was going. Like I could have been in prison. I could have got caught up with those boys, and like then none of this would exist.
Tell me about kind of making music and CBN and things like this. When did that begin? I mean, I'm kind of assuming you played in a bunch of bands, just because that's like.
Yeah, I played in a hardcore band when I was like 17. We played some shows. They kicked me out because I was like too much. Then after that, I don't think I was in a project until I was in this black metal band called Vermin for like 2 years. And then that kind of just broke up because everyone had other projects that was their main focus. Like that was their side project. And I think the drummer wanted to like take his band like way more serious and like, oh, this is what I want to focus on. This is what I want to tour. And I was like, okay, whatever. So then after that, I think was like, what would I want to say? Like fall of 2008 is when I was like, I'm going to start doing this shit by myself. I want to figure this shit out. Cause a buddy of mine had gifted me a Nintendo DS with the Korg DS program on it.
Mm.
So that was like my gateway into like making noise, was just like, well, I mean, quote unquote noise. So to me, it was just like disturbed video game music, just like
Sure.
distorted, fucked up video game music.
Yeah.
And then eventually it was like, I started actually learning about noise and like, because what was it like? I think I was in high school and there was this shit called uranium that was on like my, it was a alternative music source, right? For like digital and like cable network television. And so they would cover metal and they would cover whatever. So like when eventually they got like their own music station, like channels. So Uranium would play like John Weiss, they would play Masana, they would play Hana, they would play Merzbow and shit. So I was just like, oh, this is sick. Like this is just fucking obscure and weird, but like cool. So that was like my like teeter point. And then Silent Hill 1, that was definitely like my like introduction of like, oh, this is what I want to make with my life. I want to like terrify people with sounds. Like that's definitely the huge thing behind like what I was doing and still do. So yeah, that was kind of all over the place, but like, yeah, that was Silent Hill 1, video games, and then like finding that channel all led me into starting my projects in the fall of 08. And I started a project called Tiger Blowjob with my friend Johnny. And we would play like the end of shows, and we would play a movie on a projector against the wall. And then we would play for the duration of the movie. That was my first project. So like, we would do like Irreversible, fucking Meet the Feebles, just obscure films that are like extreme, and like play a score to it essentially.
Cool.
And like
the full length.
The full fucking length.
Wow.
So that's how I started noise. And like, a good group of friends of like 8 or 20 or 30 would just sit on the ground or like stand up and just participate.
Yeah, cool.
And we were just playing out we would play out of like 3 full stacks, like guitar shit. And my buddy would play like, I think he had the hardware, the MS-20 one without keys. And then I had my DS and some other pedals, and that was about it. And it was just noise, no vocals, no nothing. And that's where it started. I think around late 09 is when I started CBN and doing shows by myself. Still did Tiger Blowjob with the homie. It was fun, but I eventually figured out like he's wanting to just live in chaos. I want to create like steps, right? And so that was like kind of like the decision was like, yo, we can do this. This is cool. But like for me, I want to like formulate something. I want to like put this all together, right? I don't just want to be this winging it shit. Like I want to fucking like deliberately do something. Yeah. And I think that was the change and like pivot to CBN. It was like I wanted to be very deliberate with what I was doing.
And was Omaha, Nebraska, was that the first CBN release?
No, first CBN release was Untitled, and it was CDRs, and they had 3 tracks on it. I went on tour and I made like paintings for every one of them. So it was like a piece of cardboard, and I did like paintings on them, and that's how I sold them. Those are recordings that I did with my friend in a project called Leech Parade. Those were very, how do I want to say, like sample heavy and very like race baiting. Kind of, like as far as like I know what I'm poking, and it's very juvenile, and I'm using these things to like offend people, right? And so, but no, Bald and Buried was my first official release. That was on Moon Worshipper Records. It's a dungeon synth label out of Omaha.
Who ran that?
Billy from Bib, drummer of Bib. He runs that label.
I was thinking it was Van Horn's though, but I think Van Horn did a release on it.
Van Horn's on that label a lot. Yeah. He's everywhere on that label.
Yeah, okay. And
that's Rowan Masters, His Throne Agony, all that shit's on there. Yeah, 100%. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, Moon Worshipper is one of the top dungeon synth labels, and so it's just it was sick because he was always just like, yeah, Roach, I'll do something for you, and it's like cool. So yeah, that was my first release, and that was 4 tracks, I think, and that was so the theory was that like the packaging was about the bald knobbers in the Appalachian Mountains, or not the Appalachian, the Ozarks. They were a group of people that lived outside of like townsteads and shit like that, that would essentially wait for Klansmen and like other people affiliated with Klansmen to essentially jump them or rob them or murder them. And like that was their whole thing. So that was like the imaging, but the actual tracks itself, I was friends with this group of 3 individuals from Las Vegas, and they were all very suicidal and very like on the edge of existence, like at all times. And so this record was like a dedication to like them and our conversations and like our friendship. But yeah, I've never said that out loud, but yeah, that's what that record's about. So, and I know one of those people are still alive. I hope somebody else in that group's still alive, but
Yeah.
it was just a weird time for us to like randomly meet each other on Instagram and then just like develop like conversations and like uplifting and like talk constantly, you know? Just vomiting on each other because, you know,
Right.
we needed some sort of outlet, you know?
Right.
So
You mentioned street shit, and I've noticed in a number of the CBN releases, you know, Nablastia, Crimes for White America, there's a lot of red.
yeah, that's my shit.
Are you
Yeah.
affiliated? Are you affiliated with Bloods?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yep. Since I was about 10 years old.
And how has that, how has that followed you through your life and up through your kind of journeys and your transitions and your different paths until now?
So that was life until 19, right? That was my life until 19. I have a lot of those friends still. I still hustle. I still do my thing. But as far as like gang banging, repping flags, and fucking telling niggas they can't wear shit, like, nah, it's not me no more. I don't give a do your thing, homie. I'm not here to do that shit no more. That's for young soldiers and, you know, somebody that's got something to prove. The only time I got to worry about something is when I go to jail, right? If I go to jail, I go to prison. That's when I have to worry about shit. But other than that, man, life's normal. That has no infliction on my life as now, right? Like,
Yeah.
It's just I am who I am. You want to test it? Let's run up. But like, we're fucking hurty, dog. Like, what are we doing out here? So yeah, I think that's the best part. And I had like after this breakup, right? I had like a hard mental time about like, what is this image I'm projecting onto the world? I'm getting to relieve myself, but then I'm giving something to the world, right? And then that gives the world a sense of interpretation, right? That gives them I open the door for others' interpretations, right? So then once you do that, you have to be okay with however people are interpreting you. You can't just fucking go on boards and go on whatever, be like, fuck you, you didn't get it right. Fuck you, you don't understand. Like, you know, so it's like, because this music is for me and for poor people. And if people get into that, outside of that, fuck yeah, cool, sick. But like for me, that's who I'm making it for. It's for us outliers, us outcasts, us dirty motherfuckers. Like it's dirty music. It's from a dirty mindset. It's from a nasty human being that would kick your fucking door in and hurt you. So it's just like, when you start realizing who's listening to your music, you go, oh shit, like that's not what this is for, you know? Especially when Crimes came out, you know?
Yeah. So yeah, let's talk about that album in a minute. But do you think in general that that your audience is what you wish it were, or at least part of it? Do you feel like do you feel like at all?
I'm gonna be honest. I don't care who my audience is. I want you to enjoy what I do and have a feeling for it. That's the ultimate goal, is to change your feelings about something, to put something that on you that wasn't there before. That's my greatest intention. Would I wish my demographic weren't white extremists living in their fucking, you know, weird bubbles? Yeah, I wish that wasn't the case. But I don't. When you make obscure, extreme things, it's going to stick wherever it's going to stick, you know? So I can hustle and I can fucking email, you know, Cult Nation and fucking all these other people that like will put me in different avenues. But at the end of the day, who's going to be into your projects? Who's going to be into your fucking project, right? But you know, for the most part, I think with packaging imagery and sound, it kind of narrows things down a little bit. Because not everybody's going to be wanting to buy a whole fucking trap bag full of fake weed that's got a record in a box cutter that says Dead Whites on it. You know what I mean? Like, because like that's that's what the fuck I'm about. Like, I hope somebody commits a crime with that fucking box cutter and like is like, what the fuck is this? And then like it's a whole trail that comes back to me. I would love that. But it's not gonna, it's just fun to think about. It's fun to think about.
It's fun to think about, but yeah, I think it is interesting because I think that, I mean, the audience associated with this type of music is definitely not that. What do any of your friends like you said, like from your street days? What do they think about the music that you make? Do they have any relation to it, or do they?
Yeah. The few that know about it, they love what I do. They call it. It's funny because they all call it DJing. They're like, "Oh, you gonna go out and DJ and shit?" And I'm just like, "What the fuck?" Yeah, I'm gonna go out and DJ tonight. Yeah. I'm gonna go on tour and DJ. That's what I'm gonna do because they listen to it, but like it doesn't. Some of the newer shit, right, is more beat driven, and more centralized towards what I'm trying to eventually become. So that shit's definitely more palatable, for them, and they're really excited about my next record. But I think the problem with a lot of us in these creative worlds is we're so quick to downplay ourselves, not express, not share, and then instantly accept negative shit from what we do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think all those things have to change if you want to be a better version of yourself. If you want to stay who you are, do you, boo-boo. Do you all day. Whatever the fuck you want to do, go ahead and do that. But if you're trying to be a better version of yourself, you have to start changing those things and habits that you're not enjoying anymore. That you're like, man, that shit's whack. But you still fucking do it. So it's about changing that shit. Those little things, gaining new tools to evolve in life, right?
Yeah. What does CBN stand for?
It's a lot of things. It's forever changing. I think
like SPK.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, that was the whole thing. It was like, I thought that project was so sick. Them and Neubauten was like it's still like my favorite shit because it's like, for me, it just sounds free. Right? It sounds like someone's just expressing and someone's just existing. And that's my favorite thing is when I think I hear genuineness. That's my biggest attraction to like any form of music, but especially extreme music, right? That's like, oh, fuck yeah. Because like when you put on like Brethren, you hear that shit, that motherfucker hates somebody. And that's real. That's not pretend. That's not fucking like, please believe me. It's like, that's fake. That's so fake in comparison to what that man's trying to put out into the world, right? So it's like, that is what drove me to this. That's what drove me to punk. That's what drove me to metal, is like extremity. And eventually it was just like, yo, noise? Milwaukee Noise Fest? This nigga's playing a fucking burnt pizza. This bitch is playing a fucking chalkboard. You know what I mean? Like, this shit is sick. Like, this is just next level. Like, because the intention is so much different than like traditional forms of music. And I think that's the best part about it, right? Is like someone's trying to create thoughts that don't exist in this very small, narrow window. I think that's really beautiful. And I think that's the most important thing about noise to me. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, but that's kind of where it went.
Yeah, for sure.
But CBN, what does it stand for?
Right.
It's a variety of things. I've never like publicly been like, yo, this is what CBN stands for, because it's always changing, right? Carry Blood Nightly, Cold Black Neighbor. There's so many. Cold Blooded Nigga. Like, there's just tons, because it was just always like, how do I feel, right? And that's what this is about. Because I mean, that was the hard part about introducing a partner to this whole situation, was like, hey man, do you understand? Like, this is my project. Right. This is something I put my whole life into. 2009 to 2017. This was just me. All this work was just me going on tour, doing everything that I fucking did for this project. So when you join, sick, but also understand, I'm going to unfortunately dictate the shit out of this.
Yeah.
Right. And it worked for so long, but then eventually it just got to a point where I was putting in everything besides production. Right. And production is easy. We can just sit in the studio. We can grind on shit and just listen to shit and work on shit. That's the easy part of making music. The hard part of making music is making sure somebody gives a fuck about what you're doing, because there's a lot of money and a lot of fucking pestering that goes on after that to make sure your shit's out there. You can live your life and just be like, yo, this tape label that fucks with me, boom, 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 just get your releases out there. But like, that's not what I want to do. I'm sitting on 30, 40 tracks right now that are unreleased, but it's just like, I want intention. I want packages. I want thought out, scoped, felt like fucking visions of these things, because I put so much into this. I'm not just going to go, here you go. It's like, that's not how this is going to work.
Yeah. I got you. Tell me about this partner in the project. Are you working with another partner in CBN right now, or was that a thing of the past?
So CBN, Nablastia, or no. They're, I think the record's called I Want to Bathe in a River of Pig's Blood. I think it's what the fucking record's called. So that record, Nablastia, and then Crimes Against White America, and then our next record, A Colored Savior, are all co-written together. Me and my friend Davey, aka Tinder Pink. He's a producer out of Sioux City, Iowa. He moved to Omaha eventually around like 2016, 2017. He caught me on a coming home tour show with his girlfriend and was like, yo, dude, I've always thought your shit was sick. I've never approached you. I was like, yo, dog, I've been watching you and I think your production's sick. Cause he makes like, he makes future music, right? He makes like cyber future tech music that's like, it's hard to fucking put your finger on. So I was just like, yo, dog, I was like, you want to like, I don't know if you like have a plan on like touring or like making music for the rest of your life, but I was like, I do. Do you want to do this with me? And he was like fucking just gun-ho excited. So that's where that relationship started, and then we started making music together. I also, we had a studio, we all had a studio together, and my friend Braden that does Dirty Fur and Cult Play, he also like helps produce and like engineer and do things with CBN as well. I think for the most part, CBN will always be a collaborative project because I like focusing on the things I like to do. I don't want to learn how to fucking operate a DOS system. I don't want to learn how to do all this other shit. I just want to go into a studio with homies and be like, let's do this, let's make this and do, so on and so forth. And like, kind of like, maitre d' it all, just kind of like, coordinate and engineer and kind of get that going on, because I think that's like the funnest part, right? Is, oh yeah, you got this, I got this. And then going, oh no, tweak this. And then the person's like, oh yeah, do this. Like, I think that kind of workflow does best for me, because isolation, I can work on sounds, I can work on scapes, whatever the fuck you want to call it, and like do all that shit and rehearse sets and shit like that. But if it's actually about like writing a record, I prefer to do that in the setting with friends. I think that is so much more comfortable.
Tell me then about like a little bit more about the content of this project. I mean, Crimes Against White America is a very provocative and forward title. The cover art is. But just in general, like, what is the project? What are you trying to get across with the project?
So that, to go back to earlier what we were saying, when I had this relationship break, it kind of made me think about like, what am I? This is an expression, right? It's an expression I'm giving out. Well, what's it giving out? I'm giving out negativity. I'm giving out pain. I'm giving out all the hurt I've experienced. I'm giving out every single trauma I haven't fucking dealt with. I'm having a release, right? And I'm putting it on others to take away from me, I think is what I was doing for the longest time. Now, I think with where I'm at, I want to create a shared experience. If that makes sense. I want you to feel something from what I'm doing, but I'm not here with the intent to, the intent's changed. I don't think I have the verbiage for it yet because it's all in an evolution state. I've played 2 shows in Minneapolis recently. Saw you there, one.
Yeah.
With those 2 shows that I played recently in Minneapolis, it's kind of, the intent has changed and the delivery has changed and my mind has changed. So it's just like, I'm not sure, but it's definitely, I want you to feel everything. And I don't want it to be an assault anymore. I want it to be a burdensome gift, if that makes sense, right? Like, I want you to be like, oh, I've felt this at one point in time in life and I don't have to feel like this anymore. Or it's shared. So it's like, oh, I'm not alone, right? I think I'm more in the line of creating those things now than I was about being a brutal, reactive, like piece of shit. Because like when you're filling a basement with fucking subs and fucking tons of like speakers, and then you're going on everyone. What are you doing, man? You know what I mean? And especially me, because I for the longest time I didn't have a microphone, and I was screaming over my PA, and the things I was yelling at people were just fucking foul. So it's just like, you have to think about eventually what it is you're putting out into the world, because there is repercussions for that, right? You keep creating and setting all these fucking intentions, and all this bad shit and all this nasty shit keeps coming out of your fucking mouth. Guess what's probably going to fucking happen to you? Probably something nasty, probably something fucking terrible, probably more misery ahead, right? So if you start setting your intentions and start changing your vocabulary, you can start noticing blips of something a little bit better. And eventually those blips turn into just what's normal, And so I think that's like, with the progression of who I am as a person and an artist, I think that's where I'm trying to go.
So you're talking kind of like karmic energy.
Sure. No, and I think that's like the easiest way to say it. Yeah.
Okay, so tell me about the LP, Crimes Against White America. Tell me about writing it. Remind me of exactly when it was released, because I think that also plays a role, or that has some relevance to its context.
Let me
was 2021?
21? I think that's 100% right. Let me just look right here real quick. Yeah, 2021.
Yeah.
So that record was written in 2020 at the studio. So I'm pretty sure before that was the Lies comp. I might be mixing shit up. I'm pretty sure it was. So Lies out of New York. My homie Shane that lives in Texas. He put it all together, so I was able to be on that comp. That got written up by Pitchfork. But they said I was a Minneapolis-based artist. Right. And so I never shared it. I never talked about it, but that caused a huge internal beef, because like my partner in the project was like, thought it was like all about me. Right. And it was like, it's just about the song. It's just about CBN. Like, no one's, but like, he took it as a personal attack. So then 2 of the tracks that are on that record were spite written tracks by my cohort, right? He wrote 2 tracks that were like, oh, fuck him, I'm gonna do something without him. It's so like, I go to the studio, a couple weeks after we got in this, whole tiff about it, and I'm like, the fuck are these tracks? Like, we didn't do this. He was like, oh yeah, I did this shit. And I was just like, give me those motherfuckers. So like, the record is a very unique time, because that was definitely like right at the end of like me wanting to be in DIY. That was like definitely my exit phase, was like, I want to tour more. There's more opportunities coming about. I was creating new friends that were going to help me in such adventures and stuff like that. But then obviously COVID happened, so that kind of killed a lot of momentum. But yeah, the record is, I'm exploiting myself from the time I was 17 to 20, right? So there's 3S, right? 3S is about my love for Third Strike. That's a Street Fighter game, but it's also about how if I ever get caught again, I go away for 25 years minimum. The next time I get hemmed up in Omaha, Nebraska, I'm looking at 25 years. So that's I'm fucking gone. Essentially, that record is about the exploitation of living in the projects and being a mixed individual that lives in the United States, that lives in Middle America. That's if I was to walnut that fucking record, that's exactly what that record's about. It's an exploitation of living in the projects, being a mixed kid that doesn't feel like he belongs anywhere. You're not Mexican enough for this, you ain't white enough for that, you live in the projects surrounded by black kids, and police call you a fucking nigger. So it's just like, what the fuck am I fucking doing, dog? You know what I mean? Like, you have all this shit put on you as a child, and you don't know what the fuck to do with your life, and there's just all this shit, just tons of shit you don't know what to fucking do with. So then you grow up and get older, and eventually you're like, oh, okay, I can just let that shit go, man. So that's definitely what that record's about. It's not political. It's not fucking, it's not about fucking anti-communist or, whatever the fuck, who wrote about, noise against Noise Against Fascism, right? Something like that. Those people wrote about my record and all this other shit and was like, oh, this, it's like, nah, I fucking hate y'all too. Like, y'all don't understand. Like, this is, if you're fighting oppression with oppression, what the fuck are we winning? Like, because like at the end of the day, that's what you're doing. You have no room for this, so you're going to block it out. It's like, how are you going to change someone's mind, man? How the fuck are you going to implicate change with fucking delete, right? With fucking decay, with fucking, it doesn't work that way. You have to make an impact. You have to make change in order for something to fucking happen. And just killing something doesn't do something. That does nothing. It honestly encourages the lineage of whatever the fuck you're trying to do.
Right.
So no, that's definitely like, it's not a political record. It's exploitive about being in America, because like that's my favorite part about that record is the front cover, right? It's this huge Klan rally, all these fucking white pieces of shit fucking getting together to fucking hang somebody in the middle of a town square, and then there's just a blood and a Crip holding hands, protecting me, protecting you from that. And so many people just went over them. They just thought like, because my record got reported, my fucking record got banned from Discogs, fucking, all the other shit. It was just like, at that time, fucking stopped so much momentum I had and wanted to do with that record, and just like killed me. Because like Sam was like, yeah, man. Because like, now it's sick, right? It's tight. You gave me a cult record. You fucking, you blew my shit up to fucking do a good thing, right? Tight. But at the time, Sam was worried about getting his Instagram taken away. Fucking, I was worried about sales on Discogs. I was worried about how people were going to fucking pick up my record. And it's just all this other shit, because it got like, I was like, hey, Discogs, what the fuck's going on? They're like, oh, well, here's what's going on, blah, blah. Your record's been reported for this. Your record's been reported for that. And it's just like, well, who the fuck's doing this shit? And then, come to find out, you do a couple IP searches and it's just like, oh, okay, cool. It's just, some white, nationalist nerds that are fucking mad that I'm like poking their bear and being in part of their.
This is the end of part 1 with Rocha of CBN. In the full version, we further discuss scene reactions to his work, making the special packaging for his LP on Phage tapes, personal views on politically extreme art and artists as a person of color, pivotal musical experiences as a young person, horrorcore, top 5 Nebraska products of all time, and much more. To continue on to the full episode, go to patreon.com/White Centipede Noise. By supporting White Centipede Noise podcast on Patreon, not only do you get access to full podcast episodes, you also get access to bonus WCN TV content, the Maniac Circle Discord community, digital and physical giveaways, and you provide us with much needed financial support to produce White Centipede Noise podcast.